Now let's take a look at the args syntax. The args syntax is used to pass a variable number of non-keyword arguments into a function, and the args parameter name can be any valid variable name, but by convention it is typically args, A-R-G-S, with a preceding asterisk. The preceding asterisk is necessary to indicate that it should collect any extra positional arguments passed into the function. So to use the args syntax, you would type an asterisk and then your variable name, and I'm going to use the conventional name args, A-R-G-S. And then down in my function here, I'm going to simply have it return the args for now. So I'm going to tell it return args. And then down here, I have result equals calculate sum. And I'm just going to pass in a few positional arguments. And I'll say 1, 2, 3. And if I run this, we'll see that I get a tuple containing the values 1, 2, and 3. And that's what this does. This takes any extra positional arguments that we pass into the function and puts them into a tuple so that they can be used somewhere in the function. I'm going to actually do something with this. I'm going to create a variable called total equals 0, and then a for loop that says for num in args. So it iterates through each element in the args. And I'm going to tell it to add that num to total. And then finally, it is going to return the total variable. And when I run this, we will see that I get the output of 6 because it's added 1, 2, and 3 together and returns 6. And I could put any number of arguments in here. And if I run that, I will get the sum of all the numeric values that I passed in. Now, I could have used a better way of doing this because Python does have a built-in sum function. So I could have simply called the built-in function sum, passed it in the arguments, and return that. And when I run that, I still get the output 54. The args syntax can also be used in conjunction with other positional arguments. So here I have a function called animal names. It takes the positional parameter for species, and then it takes a variable number of names for those species. And then it's going to create a string list of those names by using the string join method to separate the values in names by a comma. And then it's going to create a variable message which puts the species names and then the list of names in and returns that message. So here for my result variable, I will have it call animal names, and I will pass it in cat for a species. And for names, I will give it whiskers, mittens, and shadow. And now when I run this, I will get the output cat names, whiskers, mittens, and shadow. And if I wanted to, I could do dog and then do Max, Bella, Toby, and we'll add one more of Luna. And when I run this, we'll see I get dog names and then Max, Bella, Toby, and Luna. Now it's important to know what parameters your function takes. So if I hover over this, we'll see that it takes species and then it has the asterisk names indicating that it takes a variable number of names. But if I tried to do something like put dog here at the end and run this, then it's going to say max names, Bella, Toby, Luna, dog, because the way this is set up here in the function's parameters, species comes first as a positional argument. So since it's first, whatever value is passed in first is going to go into the variable species, and then all other values past it are going to go into the args syntax names. And if I tried to move species to the other side of the asterisk names, and I run this, and you'll see that I have dog here, but instead I get an error. It says type error animal names missing one required keyword only argument. And it's a keyword only argument because of this. So in order to actually use this species here, I have to put the keyword species equals and then my dog. And now when I run it, I'll get the output correct. Dog names, Max, Bella, Toby, and Luna. But this is not very intuitive. It's not a good way to do this. So you're going to want to put all your positional arguments before your variable arguments. And if I tried to do something like put species dog here, you'll see that I get all these red squigglies because you cannot have a keyword argument before positional arguments. So now let's take a look at a function that uses a positional argument, an args syntax argument, and a keyword argument. So I have this function here, describe animal, and it's going to take an animal type, and a list of names and an optional habitat. And it's going to join the names list together. And then it's going to create this description that says the animal type, animals, in the habitat are, and then the list of animals. And you'll notice this little backslash character here after my quote. This is because I pushed the last bit of this string down to the next line. And this is just a way to let the Visual Studio Code or the Python interpreter know that I want to continue this as all one string. And finally, it returns a description. And to use this function, I will create a result variable equals, and then I will call the function, and I'm going to pass it in the values lion for animal type. And then for names, I will give it Simba and Mufasa. And then for habitat, I will give it habitat equals Savannah. And now I will print the result out. And when I run this, down here, I'll get the output. The lion animals in the Savannah habitat are Simba, Mufasa. And if I want to change this up, I could do giraffe. And for the names, just to be a little clever, I am actually going to pass it a list of names, but I have to unpack that list using the asterisk. And I will do Spike and Melvin. And their habitat will be grassland. And if I run this, we get the output. The giraffe animals in the grassland habitat are Spike and Melvin. This is just taking this list and unpacking it so that it passes in the individual values of Spike and Melvin into our names args syntax. And then we could do monkey. And for monkey, we can have the names Coco and Banana. But for the habitat, I am going to remove it and just let it use the default value of unknown. So when I run this, it says the monkey animals in the unknown habitat are Coco and Banana. And just like in the previous example, the way that these are ordered up here in the functions parameters is important. You can't have the keyword argument before the args syntax. If you try to run this, the second argument that you pass in here, Coco, is going to go into the habitat parameter. And if we run this, we'll see that, and we get the monkey animals in the Coco habitat are banana. So it's putting Coco into the habitat variable. So try to keep them in the order of positional arguments, args syntax arguments, and then keyword arguments.